Hello and welcome back for another Torah Tuesday. We're in a series on the image of God and we're exploring what does it mean to be God's image. In the first week, I talked about how being God's image is our human identity, that God has created us to rule on His behalf, and our rule is to be benevolent and creative and selfless. In the second week, we talked about how image implies kinship, that we have been invited to be part of God's family, and that we're automatically part of God's family by virtue of being human. Today, I want to talk about partnership. There's a really fascinating thing about this scene in which God creates humans. Maybe you've noticed it. In chapter 1, Genesis 1, verse 26, God says, "Let us make mankind as our image." Let us. There are three main ideas about why God might say, "let us." The first, and it's a very old one, is to assume that because God is a Trinity, God can speak of us, because He's three in one. While I believe that God is a Trinity, I do not think that's what's going on here, because we do not have a clear revelation of God's Trinitarian nature in the Old Testament. That's not fully revealed until the incarnation of Jesus in the New Testament. So I would say that is not the best reading of "let us" in Genesis 1:26. Others have suggested that because God is king, He can use the royal we, the way the Queen of England might say we when she's referring to herself. I think it's actually more likely that here God is speaking to His heavenly council or court, that there are angels gathered around Him and He's bringing them in to His deliberations about what He might do. And so he proposes to them, let's make humans, and let's make them in our image, in our likeness. So from the very beginning, community is what defines humanity. Let us, our image. To say it like that implies teamwork, and it implies community. From the start, this human community is defined as male and female. In verse 27, we learn, "So God created Adam in His own image. In the image of God He created them. Male and female He created them." I love this verse because it is unequivocal in affirming that both men and women are made as God's image. The image of God is not a status that's first conferred on men and women are an afterthought. From the beginning, men and women are together defined as the image of God. It's part of our human identity. And although we share the characteristic of being God's image and in being human, we're also different from each other, which is why both are mentioned. We complement each other by being different. Before we go any farther, I want to note something that has just really jumped off the page to me as I've studied these passages. The rulership that we explored earlier in previous Torah Tuesday video is over the animals and the land, not over each other. The man and the woman are designed to be partners. Neither one is to rule each other, and neither one is to rule over other human beings. The point is that one human cannot fill and subdue the earth alone. In order to procreate, you need both male and female. And so both men and women are invited into this task of multiplying and filling the earth, carrying out God's redemptive and creative rule. Now, some of you might be wondering, isn't the woman designed to be the man's helper, and doesn't that imply subservience? We'll talk about that more in a future video. For now, what I want to leave you with is this thought. The first two humans are unnamed until the end of chapter 3. They're not called Adam and Eve, using their proper names, until the end of chapter 3. And I think that's on purpose. They're called the man and the woman because they are paradigmatic for all humans. We learn from this story of the first man and the first woman what it means to be human. So we will have a lot more to talk about in future weeks. In the meantime, have a great week.